Hey guys, this is Cody here with another setup in MelScript, and today what I'm going to show you is an auto rigging script that I've been working on for the past few weeks. And this particular section, it's not completely done, but what this section does is it works only with the arms for now. So I've got a couple options here. I got left arm, right arm, symmetrical or asymmetrical, and I also have the choice between adding hands, a scapula, and a clavicle for each one of these options. So I could do something like that. Okay. Now let's explain these one by one, and I'll show you what I've been doing. So the script is about 2,500 lines long, maybe a little bit longer, and for what it does, it's extremely versatile. So I'm going to turn these options off for now, and let's start with the beginning. So this is our basic arm without a hand, because I've turned hands off here. And if we look at the controls, what you'll notice is that our cylinders actually stretch out and act, very similar to bones. Because what's going to happen is these spheres here are going to act as our bone locators, and once we click the bone swap option, it'll create bones and it will align them to each one of these spheres, which is really nice. And the reason why we have this kind of stretchy setup is the script itself sets up an equation which you can view in our expression editor here, and it actually makes an equation where the distance is affected by a set of invisible distance shapes that I've hidden within this rig, which is really nice. So I can just delete that. Not delete it, just exit out. And let's take a look at some of the other options. I can swap to the right arm, symmetrical arm. So the symmetrical arm I love because you can just, see what the other side is going to look like immediately, and you can watch it in real time. So I could just rotate that there, just move those down, and it looks cool. So I'm going to delete that. The asymmetrical arm is also there in case, say, you had, a creature that looked like the Charger from Left 4 Dead 2 with, maybe a tiny arm, and, the other arm is like huge and hulking. So you could do something like that. Okay, now let's look at the hands really quick. So I'm just going to use the left arm for this. And if we look at the hands, what you'll notice is that it also creates this double jointed wrist, like our double jointed elbow over here. And each finger has a double jointed knuckle. I really like the double joint method because it keeps the look, very natural, I find. And what it also does is we can move this around, anywhere we want. We could also click all of these controls over here for each finger, and each one of them stretches as well, which is really nice. Now, the reason this setup kind of exists with the metacarpals is because what's going to happen is this is going to serve as the base for the metacarpals of each finger, and the metacarpals are important because if we have bones that are there for that purpose, we could actually make some cupping motions with our hands. So when I make the script for adding the controls and the functions to each of these you know each part of the arms, spoilers, uh, it'll be able to do that. So really show off the dexterity of the hands. Now the cool thing is I've also added in an option to where I can increase the number of finger segments between 1 and 5. And I can do the same thing for the number of fingers. So we could have one finger if we wanted with 5 segments, or 4 fingers with 2 segments, or 5 fingers with 5 segments. So if you wanted to make your fingers look like the Grinch, and there's a cool little function that you may find interesting, which is really nice. Okay, so I'll delete that for now, and let's go to the scapula. I'll turn this back to 3. And the scapula is really nice because what the scapula does, I'll turn symmetrical arms on for this. The scapula, what this will do is this setup here, it follows along with our shoulder blade here. So it follows along perfectly, and no matter how far it stretches, it's always in the center, which is good. Unless we were to move this here or here, then it would just follow along that way. And what this setup is intended for is eventually when you start skinning your rig, what you can do is you can add some set-driven keys to this part of the bone, so it can push out when during certain poses of the shoulder, which really gives you that a natural feel to the back if you had to look from there, which is really cool. And in addition to that, you can also add the clavicle. So we got left arm, right arm, symmetrical, asymmetrical, and we have our clavicle setup. So we can just move this down here. And the other cool thing is once I make a script for the spine, it'll query whether or not there's a spine bone, and it will parent the clavicle bone to the spine bone once it's made, which will be really nice, or vice versa actually. So let's delete that setup and I'll recreate it. And let's move this guy up. Oops. I'll move him up from there. Move the clavicle down. And I really need to hit that so I'm not missing it all the time. So I can move that back, and I can move this down about 45 degrees. I can even move these down if I wanted to. Let's move this out a little bit. And we have 3 segments and 5 fingers, which is good. And once I do that, I can bone swap. And bam, we got our rig set up, or our bones at the very least, which is very cool. And we did it in a few seconds. And the other cool thing about this is one of the most tedious processes I find in rigging is naming all the bones individually. Now you don't have to worry about that at all, because what this does is it renames every single bone for you instantly. And it does it even on the fingers. So we got our knuckle, first joint, second, third, and fourth. Really cool. And we can delete that. And the other cool thing is, let's say I have our symmetrical setup again. We can actually alter this. So if we wanted no scapula, no clavicle, and we just wanted something like that. And let's say I also, in addition to that, want 2 finger segments and 4 fingers. Let's do it again, and bone swap. And the cool thing is, because of how I set up the bone swap function, no matter how many finger segments you have, or no matter how many fingers you have, it'll create those bones for us. And if we take a look, there's our metacarpals, and every single one, again, is named correctly. Really cool. So we could have, a left arm with two finger segments and 4 fingers, or we could have no hands on at all, and we could have the scapula and clavicle for a right arm, or maybe an asymmetrical setup. It doesn't matter, because no matter which setup you have, the bone swap function will analyze which pieces you have and then make the bones accordingly, which is nice, with no errors at all. Okay, so that's about it. I'm Cody Wilcoxon, and this has been another example of scripting in Maya. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and take care.